Hello, hello. Welcome to our core talk today. It is Thursday, July 30th. I'm about to go on a 2-week vacation, so there will be pretty much no lives for the next 2 weeks. But I'm excited to share this one with you as it applies to something you can start doing today or tomorrow. And it's really applicable at any time in your life. So let's dive in and talk about this topic. So the topic for today is self-talk during our workouts. With the advanced mat class that I teach, it's a private class. I've been working with these girls for many years. I'm now doing my own advanced mat classes. I'm working out online with another teacher, and I've been able to really track how my brain is working in the class. And I realized the other day that I decided to just listen to the teacher's words and do exactly what he was telling me to do. And instead of allowing myself to think about anything else, and the results were amazing. Class was actually much easier, even though it's extremely challenging, and I was able to accomplish things that I didn't think I could do. So this theme has been up for me and my students, and really diving into what is going on in your brain when you're working out. So my first question for you is, are you even aware that there is self-talk when you're working out? That's the first question, because most of us don't even know that there is. And we think that we're thinking about, because in a physical exercise, we're being asked to do something with our bodies. And especially if you're taking a class and there's a teacher telling you what to do, you're trying to concentrate on what the teacher's saying, and you're thinking about it. So you don't even know that there is a background noise of self-talk. You wouldn't even know. Now, when you go running or you go on like a long bike ride, you might be able to be a little bit more aware of what's going on in your brain because you don't have somebody telling you what to do. In that case, you're typically listening to music, something like that. Again, it's gonna be a distraction from what's there. So I want you to know that there is, hey Nora, I want you to know that there is self-talk that is happening during your workouts. So that's part one, that it is there. And I want you to know that 90% of the time, unless you're super evolved and you've done a lot of self-work, and you've done a lot of self-work on your thinking in your workouts, 90% of the time, that self-talk is actually working against you. It's pulling you away from the task at hand. It's limiting you because you have limiting beliefs. It's hurting you. So what we want to do, it's sort of like this silent, pervasive thing that we're not even aware of. So what we were going to do today is we're going to go into this. We're going to try to discover, I'm going to give you some of the common ways that this self-talk comes up so you can identify and note, where am I doing this? And then I want you to practice that, looking at that in your next workout. And then I'm going to give you some tactics and strategies for dealing with that in a positive way to replace that thinking. So we're not going to try to get rid of it, but we're just going to crowd it out with some really good thinking strategies that's going to help your workouts and going to give you the results that you want. Okay? So before we dive in to the what are the ways these thoughts are coming up, I want you to take a moment and I want you to think about either the last workout you had or one of the workouts that you typically do. And I want you to think about how you think about it and what mental chatter might come up. So just go back to, let's say you're getting ready to go to your, Zoom class, or you're gonna get ready to go on a run or get ready to go for a swim. What are the thoughts that come into your head before going? And then what are the thoughts that you know happen during it? So go ahead and write those down. Take a minute or just kind of do some inventory on what those are. And coming back, I'm just going to give you an example. My example is I thought of running because I love running when I'm really strong, and the runs feel amazing and they become meditations and they're just so freeing and I'm going places. But if I'm not strong in running is really, 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 really hard for me. So these are the thoughts that come up for me when I'm about to go on a run. I'm just going to read them to you. About to go, I have the feeling of dread, resistance, fear. Then during the run, thoughts like, it's so hard, I feel weak. When is it over? How long have I been going? Oh my God, it's only been 7 minutes. I don't want to go any further. I'm so tired. I'll never get back into running shape. Just go to the end of this block. Going to the end of this block is not far enough. You're not doing enough. How can I be so weak when I do so much HIIT training? So all of these thoughts literally came up in the last run I had. Now, I haven't run in a little while, but they did come up. These are honest thoughts. And that was painting the picture of my run. So you can imagine that the quality of my run was not great. And by the way, my experience with that was pretty awful, and it doesn't make me want to do it again. And with exercise, we want to get into a place where the way we're thinking about it is a way in which we want to go back and do it again. And not just because we want to be mean to ourselves, that's not the reason we should be exercising, but because we want to feel good and we know it can feel good. So there are a lot of excess thoughts that are definitely working against us during our workouts, and it only makes the workout much harder, right? So we're going to go dive in to, actually I want to make one point before we dive into where these things show up so you can do a little checklist for yourself. The key point here is that when we let our thoughts move away from the actual task of doing and being the work, we are not fully engaged with the work. And therefore, we're doing maybe 50% of the work. I had a dance professor who, Sarah Hook, she gave me an amazing insight into how to be an incredible dancer. And one thing she said was, the dancers who were thinking about the task at hand, and that's all they were thinking about. They were not thinking about the audience. They were not thinking about themselves. They were not thinking about how they were doing it. They were performing the task at hand. That's all their brain was thinking about. Left arm here, right arm down, left leg up, toe, stretch, okay? Were the most interesting dancers to watch because they were fully present. So in your work, I see this in my Pilates clients as well, when they're 100% with the work and not in their mental self-talk, they perform it so much better. Okay, so here are the ways our self-talk shows up, and there are like a ton of ways, so you can do a checklist and say, yes, that's me. I'm going to go ahead and print them out, or they will be in the bottom of this IGTV, so you can go ahead and print that out if you want and sort of circle the ones that come up for you. So a lot of the self-talk is related to our preconceived ideas about our bodies. Okay, so this shows up in several ways. 1, you had an injury, or you have an injury. Now with injury, you do have to be careful and you have to protect it. But let's say you have back pain. Your story during your workout is, I have a bad back. This limits you. You think, I can't do that, or I'm not going to be able to do this because of either a former injury or a current injury. Now, if it's a current injury, 100% you need to make sure that you're doing the right things for it, but you got to be careful of former injuries directing how you think about the workout. I can't do this because I have a bad back. Second thing, preconceived idea about your body is genetics. So you think that because I've heard this story many times, one of my clients said to me years ago, all of the women in my family have big guts. So my mother says, well, that's what you're going to have. And I believed that for the longest time. This is a client telling me this. So you have preconceived ideas about your body type because of genetics. If your mom is overweight, you're going to think that that's what you're going to be. I'm not saying you are going to think that. You're going to tend to think that that's what you're going to be, right? If your mom was super fit, you might think, it's normal for me to be fit. So those preconceived ideas that relate to genetics, and it's not always true. Another thing that comes up with preconceived ideas, something someone said to you about your body. So you were in ballet class when you were a little girl, and some mean ballet teacher said to your mother, well, Gina is really not that graceful. And you heard that, your mom told you that, and you now think that for the rest of your life, you're not graceful. You're not going to be graceful. This is a preconceived idea about your body, and you carry it with you into your workouts. Another preconceived idea, there's 4 of them, is what you were as a kid. So when you were a kid, maybe you weren't athletic. Maybe you were a bookworm and you didn't exercise at all. You didn't like exercise, and that's how you used to be. Or maybe when you were a kid, you weren't that coordinated in dance class and you felt a little awkward, and that's how you used to be. When you were a kid, this one I hear a million times over, and it's always proven wrong. I can't touch my toes. A lot of people could not touch their toes when they were younger. Now they can. So it's, again, those preconceived ideas that go in, they are not correct, but they're there. And this influences how you move your body and how you approach your workout. So we need to examine them, see what's there, which ones of those are there for you. Now, moving on. This is just a general thing. So this has nothing to do with the preconceived idea about your body, but you may have a resistance to things being hard. This can get in your way. If you're somebody who thinks things should be easy, I shouldn't be sweating, there's something wrong if it's hard, right? If that's you, then you bring that to your workout, and that is a resistance piece to yourself, because working out there are moments that are going to be hard. Generally, there are going to be moments that are hard. And if you have a resistance to things being hard, you're not going to be able to embrace the workout and move through it with grace. Another issue that comes up in self-talk or self-thinking is focusing too much on what is versus not enough on what you want to create. Okay, so I just had a client about 5 hours ago. She was doing an exercise, and I was cueing her to think about her abdominal connection. And she sort of stopped at the end of it, and she goes, I just kept feeling this pain in my shin. I had like a zinging pain in my shin, and that pulled me away from being able to think about my abdominals. And it's like, exactly. So she felt something that was bothering her, and she focused on that instead of choosing to focus on the thing that she wanted to focus on and not pay attention to that other thing. Now, when it comes to pain, there's a very different, we have to break this down. If you have bad pain, in her case, it was more tightness. It was not a negative pain. It's good that she said something to me about it. If you have bad pain, you do need to focus on it, and you need to fix the problem. You need to modify, you need to do something to resolve that pattern. You don't just want to ignore pain, okay? We're not going to use our mental strategy to hurt ourselves further. But in the case of focusing on what is, for example, I'm doing this exercise and my legs should be straight. My knees are so bent. When really, it's better to focus on what you want versus what is, okay? Instead of thinking my knees are so bent, we can help ourselves and think, lengthen my legs. That part will be next, is what you can do to replace this. But this is another way it comes up, focusing too much on what is versus what you want to create. Another way that our brains work against us in exercise is the wandering mind. So our minds are like little toddlers. They are very active and they need something to do. And if they are not given direction and you have to choose that you're going to follow the direction, because you could have a teacher giving you direction, but you could be that kid in the class who's daydreaming, right? So your brain has to be directed and given tasks, or it will go off into its crazy mental chatter. And generally that mental chatter is filled with anxiety or thinking about other things in your life. Your self-talk during your workouts, especially workouts you're used to, can go to the things you have to do, right? So you're in yoga class and you're starting to think of all of the dishes in the sink, or, I forgot to call the maintenance man or whatever. And so that can come up too. And that, again, is going to work against you if you've got that wandering mind. Confusion is another habit that comes up mentally. If you're confused, this happens for the most part in like a Pilates class or a dance class. And if you allow yourself to get into confusion and then you get flustered and you allow your brain to feel nervous about the confusion, again, you're going to disconnect from the body and you could hurt yourself. This can be actually quite dangerous if we're not sticking to task and focusing our brain on allowing that self-talk to throw us off. So confusion is another piece that can come up, and you can sort of stay in that confusion and be upset about the confusion. One more we're going to talk about, and I'll just go over those real quickly. Old habits of thinking about the way you think about exercise. So many of us, and I see this in so many of my clients, we think exercise should be so hard. We think exercise should be painful. We think exercise should mean that we're out of breath and we can barely scrape along. So we perform our exercise in that way. And if you have that kind of relationship with exercise and you have that kind of belief about exercise, the sustainability of your exercise is going to be very, very, it's not going to be there. It's not going to be a sustainable thing. You are not going to want to come back to it. And eventually you will give up on it. Okay? And if you don't give up on it, you will be in an abusive relationship with your brain about exercise, and you will just be hurting yourself, and you won't see the results that exercise is meant to give you, which is a wonderful feeling of contentment, happiness, peace, oneness with your body, and a sense of rootedness and groundedness in your life. Okay? So we have all of these ways that we work against ourselves. We can be attached to our old injuries, our genetics, something someone said to us about our body when we were young, what we used to not be able to do when we were a kid. We may have a resistance to things being hard in general. We may focus too much on what is versus what we want to create. We may have the wandering mind. We may get lost in confusion and sort of stuck there. And we may have old ways of thinking about what exercise should be. So do your checklist. Go ahead and circle. I'm going to post all of these, write them out, and see which ones are true for you. Now, I want you this week in your workouts to pay attention, okay? And one of the best ways to try to see what thoughts come up is by trying to direct your thoughts, giving yourself the assignment of directing your thoughts. Just like when you meditate and you give yourself the assignment of following your breath, you realize very quickly that your brain wanders. You might not even know it's wandering, but if you try to do something that is simple and steady and focused, you realize that you're actually unfocused, right? So that's what I want you to try some of these tactics this week. I don't know if I'll write these out, but they're here. So here are some ways for you to be more mentally present so that your thoughts have a direction as well as your body. First, try to only hear, and I mean absorb, react to, turn up the volume on your teacher's words. So if you're in a class, this is for if you're in a class, try to only hear their words and embody their words in a very present form. This is pretty challenging to do, but if you can do this, it becomes a very zen experience in your exercise and you actually accomplish a lot more. So if the teacher's saying, lengthen your legs, stretch your chest, pull your abdominals in. It depends on your teacher. If you can take those in and you really just do that in the moment, like you've never heard those words before, okay? Taking the cues into your body and embodying the cues. That's a great way, but you got to have a teacher for that one. And you got to have a teacher who is cueing and directing. Only hear and listen to the teacher's words. Another way, hi Lisa. Another way for you to replace the mental chatter and direct your thoughts is to set an intention. Lisa knows this, we did this week. Set an intention and come back to that intention throughout the class. So in this case, I'm going to be talking about sort of a general intention. So your intention might be stay present. Your intention might be let go. Your intention might be center your core. Your intention, something that's sort of bigger in terms of a general idea. You can play with an intention like that. You can also create a mantra. So the positive mantras are going to be things that you want to create. So going back to that, thinking about what is versus what you want to create. So let's say you want your mantra to be, I am flexible, because your knees are always bending and you can't really find that stretch. Then through your class, you are saying to yourself as you're doing your work, I am flexible, flexibility, openness, length, stretch, and just put those words into your brain so that it goes into your body and you're able to create that. Okay? That, again, it's important as we're in the positive with it, but it's also important because it's pushing out the negative. So we got to eradicate the negative thoughts because those are pulling us back. Another thing I want you to try, and this is more of an outside of class or before class exercise, is really opening to and believing in what you want to create. Okay? So before you get into your class, what do you want to feel? What do you want to create? How do you want to be? I would say, I'm going to give an example, like the number one thing for me, I'm going to talk about old soul cycle classes, is feeling like, let's say it's going to be a super challenging class. I'm scared because I'm not going to be able to hit every beat. I'm not going to be able to keep up. So before class, and I've done this before and it works magically, walking into class saying, I am open to this being very easy for me today. I am open to me just nailing this class like I'm a freaking superstar athlete. I'm open to that. Let's see. And then, holy moly, it can happen. And it's sort of scary when it happens. I think part of our mental, like pulling back and our mental chatter has to do with protecting us from actually being successful, because we can be, and it's scary to change. And I get that. But this is, we want to be evolving. We want to be changing. We don't want to feel like we're failing. That's why this is important. Okay, another thing that we can do is visualize the outcome we want. So as a dancer, I actually presented on this at a conference years ago, a dance educators conference, visualization techniques. So they actually work. So every elite athlete uses visualization techniques to enhance their performance. So you can mentally practice this exercise that you're doing. You can visualize yourself while you're doing the exercise. You can visualize, a dancer who's doing it. You can visualize yourself being that dancer and the results will come. So visualization is a great one too. And then going back to our old ways of thinking about exercise should feel, I want you to look at that. That's a really big one. What you think exercise should be, and know that that particular belief is probably limited. It's not as expansive as it should be. Okay. Speaking of should. So, this shifted for me as a dancer. I thought dance should be a certain way. My body should be working and I should be sweating and it should be so hard and it should be hard to get. And then I realized, oh, no. Dance doesn't have to be that. Dance can feel really good. It can feel like a massage. I can go in stretching. Same thing for me. It's so challenging. Stretching so hard. I'm so tight. No, stretching can feel like taking a bath. And the way you think about exercise, you got to play with the way you're entering your next exercise class, your next session, and play with your own thoughts about it. Can you shift how you think about it? Can you think of it in a possible way of this actually could feel easy, fun, like a massage? Okay, and then this is another great, and this is the last tactic I have. They're not in any order, but focusing on a certain body part. So once let's say you're taking your Pilates class or your yoga class, and you're starting to get into a routine, or you're going on a run, or whatever it is, it can be very useful and interesting to choose a body part to focus on during the whole class so that you start to learn something new about that part of your body. Right? So we've been doing Pilates for years. This class, I'm going to focus on my right hip. What is my right hip doing when I'm doing the 100? What is my right hip doing when I'm doing the side kicks? What is my right hip doing when I'm doing, okay, you get the point. Focusing on that body part, again, gives your brain a task. It gives yourself something to do. And it also expands your knowledge of your body, your awareness of your body, which is an enlivening thing. It makes you feel connected to yourself, which we are mostly disconnected from our bodies. We spend a lot of time in our head. We spend a lot of time thinking about things outside of us. We rarely feel, think, experience our bodies in a positive way. We spend a lot of time beating ourselves up. We spend a lot of time resisting the body we are in. So by using our focus on the body part that we want to think about, how it's functioning. I'm not talking about, I'm going to think about my flabby arms. Okay. That's not what I'm talking about. You can do that kind of work too. I'm going to think of you, arm. I love you, arm. And I'm going to be with you this whole class, and we're going to do this together. Another way of loving your body. Okay. So when we try on these new mental focuses, we push out the negative. The resistance blocks can go away. We step into new thinking. We grow new little buds on our limbs, on our tree, our brain tree, and have new experiences, which helps our brain and our bodies. And the results you're going to see from focusing the brain are more strength and control in your physical body in less time. You're going to be able to get exercises you haven't been able to get in a long time if you focus the brain. You're going to be able to see a mental discipline develop. Your concentration skills will increase. So our brains are so chaotic. We're all over the place, especially for women who multitask. It's an excellent way for our brains to have a singular discipline and really focus. And that actually gives our brains, it builds some concentration muscles, but it also just gives us a break, which is my third result point here, is you get a psychological break from your life. When you focus on your body, not how you think about how negative it is or, thinking about what's not working for you, but when you focus on your body and focus on accomplishing something, you get a psychological break from the craziness that is life right now. And it gives you life. Okay. So that's in 45 minutes of life-giving, a break from your mental craziness. And you are going to surprise yourself by surpassing limitations. You're going to discover that you are flexible, that you are stronger, that you are stronger than you think you are, that you can do that exercise you never thought you could. Because you move out that psychological connection to it, that is the negative connection, and now you make room for yourself to be able to accomplish it. You change that limiting belief, and now you make room for what is available. And it's all available. It is. It really is. I'm telling you, I've seen it a million times with my clients, and it's beautiful. And that is key, because if you do it there, you can do it anywhere. If you do it in the body, you can do it in your life. And that's the teacher. And you show yourself that limitations are not limitations. We're going to focus the brain. We're going to make it happen. And then you can apply this to everything else in your life, right? So it's bigger than just the body. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you. And this will be on IGTV. If you know anybody you think it would speak to, I'd appreciate it if you share it. And let me know what your limiting beliefs are. You can DM me, and if you want help with that, I do have a consultation that I do, a free consultation, so we can talk about that and how we can help you. Okay, have a wonderful day. Bye.